With all the recent rumors on the eventual release of the Xbox handheld, content creators and journalists have been speculating what this new Switch-like console will be like. Ever since I started gaming at the age of 4, I've been a fan of mobile gaming, ranging from the Game Boy Color to the PSP to Webkins, the Steam Deck, and others. So with all the signs pointing to this new system hitting the market by the end of 2025, I thought to myself, if I were to make the perfect Xbox handheld, what would need to be included to make it a must-buy system? Can Xbox compete in the mobile market? Or are we just about to see another PS Vita? Let's jump into it. So when you think about the mobile gaming market, there are a ton of different gaming devices that are out there for us to pick from, ranging from the Rogue Ally to the Steam Deck to the Legion Go to the Switch and many others. And some of these devices are a crap ton of money. Now, I will say I've been gaming on mobile devices ever since I was a little kid, where I was gifted a Game Boy Pocket while my older siblings were given Game Boy Colors, and I'm starting to realize that there is a sense of favoritism here. But even that being the case, mobile gaming has its place in this market. There's a lot of fun where you can just play your games on the go and actually enjoy yourself and not have to sit down, set up your game, get your controller out, make sure you got your batteries ready, and just sit down and find a good place to play. And so when all the rumors came out that Xbox was creating their own handheld device, I thought to myself that, damn, this could really change things. Especially because if you compare itself to everything else out there, when you had PlayStation coming out with their own PlayStation Portable, and I'm not meaning the legendary OG version, I'm talking about the PlayStation Portable, and Nintendo is killing it with their Switch, Xbox is the only company that has not come out with its own mobile device that you can play games on the go. So when I think about what is essential to make an Xbox handheld successful in this market, one of the most important things I think of is natively being able to play your games on the go. So what that basically means is, can I actually download my games that I purchased and put it on the device and play it? I'm not looking to have a Xbox cloud gaming device because that's a barrel of ass. I don't know about you, but how many of you actually play xCloud and enjoy yourself with it? I've tried to play games on xCloud, and the lag between the movement of my controller to the actual gameplay sucks ass. You can't even fathom playing a multiplayer game in this type of environment because you will get destroyed. You will become the liability, and you most likely will get a lot of hate messages. Imagine trying to play COD on xCloud. I might just have to go to bed. There are some games that you can play on the cloud, but there's a lot of others you really can't. And one of the things I think is the biggest selling point for why people like things like the Rogue Ally or the Steam Deck compared to things like the PlayStation Portable is because you can download the games directly to your device and you can play it anywhere without having to have Wi-Fi connection to actually play it. As much as I understand that there is a niche of people that do like the PSP because you can actually just connect your internet or use PS Play to play in your house, but the big problem is that you're really not going to be able to have that same experience when you're on the go or traveling. And I think that is one of the reasons why I personally did not buy the PSP, because I do like the idea of playing PlayStation games on the go, which is why I used this for all my childhood. I turned this on the other day and I just cried tears of joy thinking of my past. And so when I think about an Xbox handheld, it is essential that it must be able to download the games directly to your device and just play them. And I think one of the things that could be a game changer for this device if it has the ability to play digitally downloaded games from your Xbox. Because imagine being able to play all the games that you purchased digitally and even older games from the 360 and Xbox One era and being able to play it on a mobile device anywhere you go. That would be sick. That would be such a GW win right there, because at the end of the day, most other consoles can't do that. Because most other things like the Rogue Ally or the Steam Deck, you're not able to do that with an Xbox or a PlayStation. You have to buy it through Steam in order to actually have the same function. So imagine having a Xbox handheld that not only has the ability to get access to Steam, but now you can download your Xbox games directly to your device with one of the largest libraries out there. That would be awesome, because at the moment, there's a limitation of what you can actually do. With the added stipulation that the only games that you could play on this type of device are games on this Xbox Play Anywhere system, yes, it's cool because it saves all your data and files no matter what you play on, whether it's on Steam or not. The problem is that it limits the amount of games you can actually enjoy. And I think that's really what's frustrating about this. So to really shake things up, if this Xbox device can play games natively and even those that you digitally own, that would be pretty damn cool. Not many others can do that at the moment. Secondly, the question of whether this is going to be a PC-centered device or an Xbox centered device or maybe even a dual version is going to be a big question to me. Because right now, when you think about the Rogue Ally or the Steam Deck, they are very different in how they feel and how they play. Rogue Ally is more of a Windows-based device that does have some things that try to mirror that of the console. So you easily have the ability to access anything from the Steam library to the Epic Games library, as well as being able to go into Game Pass and play games directly. And you can also make it an emulator because it's also a Windows device. Steam Deck, on the other hand, has its own Steam OS that makes it really smooth and easy to jump into any game, and it also has the Windows-based function where you can actually play Windows or use Linux to basically do things on the outside, making it an emulator that works really well. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Xbox Handheld really does have a challenge, because if you make a Windows-only device, it will make it more difficult to get access to these games, and it could limit the success of this console if you do struggle when it comes to your UI. The Xbox system has a really simple UI where you know exactly where to find all your games, where to find your apps, and it makes the experience really simple. And that's one of the things that I feel like the difference between PC gaming and console gaming that really does get people scared to jump into PCs. Being able to jump into a game and enjoy it takes a lot of steps, especially if the game doesn't work. Then all of a sudden you got to go to your driver, got to check your driver, update your drivers, scratch your left nut, hopefully it works. If not, restart your computer, do this whole process just to play a simple game. Well, on the console, yes, the quality of the games are not even close, but you do have access to a simplified UI that is really straightforward. Update the game, play the game, and then you're in, right? That's the big difference. So when it comes to a handheld device like this, Microsoft has to make a smart decision. Do you want to create Windows-only device? Or, I think in my opinion would be the better option, create an Xbox OS that can be utilized using Windows because you own the damn thing. You own Windows. It is your system. So you can create your own OS that is a hybrid that you can then build in the Windows-based services into an Xbox OS that is simple. And that way you have the ease of access to that of consoles while also having the ability to customize this device with a Windows-based service. And I think that way you can create a ultimate emulator while also having all the fun things of a console that make things simple. That way, if you do this and you have comparisons to the other devices, this one would take the cake. Not many other devices have that ease of access. Before we get to the next section, if you like this type of content, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, hit that join button and become a member of Barsbane Gaming for some awesome perks. Now let's jump back into the video. One of the biggest questions I think that we do have with this type of device is what type of hardware are we talking? What's under the hood? What horsepower do we have to push us to the finish line? And I think in this market right now, there's a lot of different ranges of different things that we see in this handheld gaming that can either make it or break it. Because you really have to think about what type of RAM, CPU, GPU are we going to get when it comes to this type of device and how it's going to be able to play all these new updated games that are out there. Because when you make a comparison to things like the Rogue Ally, which has an AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme, an RDNA 3 graphics card that can run games to a pretty solid level at 1080p, while also looking at the Steam Deck, which is less powerful, that uses an older RDNA 2 GPU, but actually has software that really makes it more optimized for its type of games. So the question then is, how can the Xbox handheld kind of match this level, and where should it land amongst these different devices? I think what could work really well for this device, if it can get to a Series S or slightly above a Series S in its level of processing and ability to play games, because then all of a sudden you can play all the games that are in the current library at its upgraded states, and it could be cheaper. If the Xbox Series S is $300 on the market right now, and even some cases $230 based on the market at the moment, you could hit a really good price point for getting it around the same level of processing or above the Series S and get it to maybe at a $400 price tag while also having the ability to play some really great games. Now, I would love for it to get closer to the Xbox Series X when it comes to what you can play on it, because then you're really talking with the abilities that you can go with this thing and be able to travel and play these high-level games hitting around 120 FPS. But the question is going to be, what type of processor are we going to use? I think if you go along the same route as a Rogue Ally and going with that AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme, then I think you will get a little bit more expensive on the price tag. But at the same time, it can play some really high-level games, especially on a smaller device. Because that's the big question. If it's a smaller device, you're going to need to have a better processor or CPU to be able to accomplish these types of things. So I think what would work best is that if Microsoft were to invest and create their own version of these things, or even try to invest in another kind of version of the Rogue Ally's device, then you will have a pretty sizable processing power to play play these high-level games. But I think what's important is that you should be able to give the user the ability to adjust the settings similar to that of the PCs so that you can go and really customize how you want to play. I think with the difference between what's going on the Xbox Series S and X and what you do on these handhelds is that most of the consoles don't give you the ability to customize how you want to play. And that's one of the best benefits of PC gaming is that you can customize every facet from the UI to the screen to the processors to all these other things to make it so that it's as smooth as you want it to be. Xbox and PlayStation don't really give you that ability to do that at the moment. And I really think it would be beneficial if you do provide that for this handheld because it makes things a lot easier for you. So this handheld, if you can get it around that Series X and X level, I mean, that'd be pretty damn good. And when it comes to the design of this thing, I mean, there's only certain levels that you can do. Everything kind of looks the same at this point. Ironically, they all kind of look like the Wii U when it comes to what it kind of feels like and the size and everything. But I think it really just depends on how much you're willing to invest in this type of device. I really don't want it to be super heavy. I know the Rogue Ally can get heavy at times and the kind of feel that it is. The Steam Deck is kind of that mixture in between. It has that nice weight to it that's not too heavy. And then you get other devices like the Legion Go, which is like a freaking beast, like you're carrying around a 10-pound dumbbell as you're playing the game, which can be frustrating. But I really think it just depends on what you're trying to put into the device that makes it the weight. But I think what's most important about this Xbox handheld is that they should use things that worked well for their devices and keep it consistent. I think, in my opinion, the Xbox controllers do have a really good standard of how they do about their Pro systems, meaning that the controller having these magnetic thumbsticks make it so much better when it comes to fixing the device or it's stopping stick drift, and I think it worked really well for what they tried to accomplish. And if you do that for your handheld, then it actually works out really well. I love the back paddles that the Pro does have, and I think that that's kind of the key thing I really wish they need to include here, because if you compare this to the Rogue Ally, which only has 2 back paddles on the back, it makes it a lot more harder to play PC gaming because you want to have buttons that you can map to different things or different keys. So if you don't have 4 at least in the back, it makes it more difficult to do that. But one thing they definitely need to do is make sure that their RB and LB buttons aren't broken like the Xbox Elite controllers are, because those things break all the damn time. It's a barrel of ass. It sucks so much ass if you have to fix these things. I had to crack the thing open like I was a mechanic for a car to fix the RB and LB buttons, and I had to do that several times. So if you can avoid that bullshit, then it's going to make your life a lot better. And lastly, the screen. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't really think about, but it does matter a lot when it comes to how this device is going to play. The big question is going to be whether you want to go with an OLED screen 7 to 8 inches or even above that, and how much is that going to impact the price. Right now, the Rogue Ally has a 7-inch 1080p LCD screen that has a 120 hertz refresh rate, which is pretty good. Yes, the visuals are not that amazing when it comes to the brightness and the levels that you can get, but the refresh rate is pretty damn good, meaning that you're going to get a pretty good FPS rating for your games. The Steam Deck OLED is a higher upgraded version that has an OLED screen that is pretty damn good, but their refresh rate is at 90, which is not really as good compared to the Rogue Ally. It looks nicer, but it's also not really as good of an FPS rating. The Legion Go is freaking massive with an 8.8 OLED screen that is humongous with a 144 hertz refresh rate, which can be pretty damn good, but it's also humongous. So the range I think that this Xbox handheld can get to is if it hits around that 7 inches, similar to the Rogue Ally, you could get an OLED screen that does make it better visuals, but you will probably get a little bit more of a price hike compared to others. You probably could have multiple versions, one that's an LCD and one that's an OLED screen. You can give the consumer the ability to pick and choose. Most likely the LCD screen is going to be a lower cost, which if it can get to around that $400 at a good refresh rate similar to the Rogue Ally, that would be nice. But knowing the way in which these handheld markets are, it's going to be more expensive. I think that's one of the biggest things I will say when it comes to the screen and what it can prioritize. And the big question is going to be, do you want it to be more battery life like essential, or do you want it to just be processing? So I think a good balance between the two would be how the Rogue Ally sets theirs up, but at the same time they also price theirs like a bitch, so you really don't know how you want to handle this. So the big question I have is, can this Xbox handheld succeed in the current market? And I think it can. Right now, when you look at all these different handheld devices, they all kind of do the same thing. They all have the ability to play games from the Steam library to Epic Games to Game Pass to a certain level. And I think when you look at what is beneficial about all these handhelds is that you can go and download games natively and play them. And it's a great experience being able to enjoy your games on the go, especially if you're a big time gamer like me, like a Chad. But when you look at what this Xbox handheld can do, the big difference between it being successful and not is how you incorporate it into this market. If it's just going to be another OLED that has an Xbox button on the corner that's branded by Xbox, I don't know how viable that's going to be in this market. I don't think that's going to sell a crap ton of units in which you think it will. It has to be something different than what we have at this current moment. If you have an Xbox version of a Rogue Ally that has the ability to download your games that you purchase digitally and actually even have the ability to download the games from the Xbox 360 or Xbox One libraries like you can from the Xbox Series X and S, that is different. That is something that a lot of people can get behind and really purchase it and enjoy it. That's something that can really break the bank and get people to really be happy with how this device goes forward. And whether or not this 2025 device is exactly a brand new system or if it's just a Rogue Ally updated console really will matter on how you portray this thing. If it's just meant to download games from Game Pass and that's it, then I don't know how viable that's going to be in the market. It has to be at a decent price point and it has to have something that is different compared to somebody else. The Switch can play its games digitally. You can download the games, you can have cross saves all across the area, and that's why it's so successful. The PlayStation Portable was not as successful mainly because it's a cloud device. You're playing games based on PS Play, you don't have the ability to download the games directly, and that is the difficulty of that type of system. It has a great look, it has a great controller and screen, but the problem is that it's not as viable as a competitor to something else that's in the market right now. The Steam Deck and the Rogue Ally are the top two candidates for the best mobile devices out there that are not Nintendo. So if you want to compete against these, you're going to have to create something similar to that of the best following Nintendo and their methods. So creating a device that has access to Windows, but also then has the ability to download your games digitally and put it onto your device to play, that is essential. I think if you have that, it will become very viable in this market. If you don't, it's just going to be another handheld device similar to that of the Rogue Ally. And I don't know if I'm going to buy it. As much as I might have a problem buying all these different handheld devices, I don't think I'll buy this one. It has to have something that is different to get me to say, maybe this device is actually worth it. Maybe I should buy this thing and go out and pick one up and enjoy it myself. Because if it doesn't, I don't know if it's really going to last that long. It might just be another wet fart like the PS Vita. I really hope it's not. We've seen Microsoft make some dumb decisions before. Let's hope they don't do it again. But what do you think is essential for an Xbox handheld to be successful in this market? What should they include? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this type of content, drop a thumbs up and subscribe to support the channel. Until next time, this is Marsman signing off. Game on.